thank you all so much for coming out on this beautiful day. We were very lucky that today was our day and not yesterday, because I don't think half of you, maybe even a third of you, would have been here for this yesterday if we were standing in the rain. So thank you again for coming. We're going to have some remarks from a few dignitaries and folks that have been helpful with this project. Before we do, I need to say some thank yous, but I also wanted to give you just a little bit of background on the lot. And you might be wondering, first of all, why is it called the Rock Lot? So this piece of property is owned by the state of Delaware, and through Senator Marshall and his help with the bond bill last session a year ago, we actually were granted a 10-year lease from the state with a 10-year renewable term to improve this and make it a green space for the neighborhood. And so we've been going through a process with the neighborhood called Vacant to Vibrant, where we reimagine and redesign 4 spaces in the creative district. This was done through funding with the National Endowment for the Arts and their Our Town program. And so we now are done the planning process, and the plans are here. So after the remarks this morning, if you want to see the plans for the rest of the spaces, you can come up and see them. But this is the first of the 4 spaces, and we call it the Rock Lot because when we first saw this space, it was covered with big kind of ankle breaker rocks. And we just started to call it the Rock Lot because it didn't have a name other than, 305 West 8th Street. And so the Rock Lot seemed a little bit more catchy to us in the office, and it's just stuck. So the Rock Lot it is. I'm sure there will be rock and roll at some point on this lot that'll help it make a little bit more sense, but the rocks around the edge definitely do help as well. So with the planning money from the NEA, we were able to do the planning process. With the help of Senator Marshall and the state legislature, we were able to do the lease with the state. With the help of the Attorney General's office and the Delaware Economic Development Office and the Neighborhood Building Blocks Fund, we were able to start the implementation. And then with the generous help of the Nemours Partnership to Improve Community Health, we were actually able to complete the process here for the implementation. And I do want to say thanks to Fanilda Shaw, Gina Sist, and Kate DuPont Phillips, who I think are from Nemours, and I think are here today. So if they're here, they can give a little wave. They're over there. Thanks to the team from Nemours because they really, were able to help put this over the finish line in terms of the implementation. I also want to thank the Challenge Program. Andrew McKnight from the Challenge Program is here and going to say a few words. All the furnishings that are here and more to come are provided by the Challenge Program and their great team. And I'd really like to also thank Groundswell Design Group. They're the group that helped us with the design process for this and the 3 other lots. And then lastly, probably most importantly, our great neighbor, Tom Tanzilli and the Trophy Shop. I know Tom is here somewhere. There he is. Tom is our neighbor right here and has just been super generous with all of our needs to get this lot installed. And so thanks to Tom. And I know that at some point, Tom, we're gonna have an awesome mural on this wall, right? I hope so. Okay, good. No pressure though. So at first, before we get into our remarks, I also want to thank Matt Meyer, our county executive is here. And so thank you, Matt, for coming. And I see that Jeff Bullock is here, our Secretary of State. He's also a board member. He and Matt are also board members for Wilmington Renaissance. And Paul Wiegraff, our Director of the Division of the Arts, is here as well and been a big supporter. So thank you all for being here. So now I'd like to ask our mayor, Mayor Przicki, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. It's funny, the first thing I thought about was after all the years working down at the Chase Center and thinking about sound systems, I thought, this is a great sound system. I mean, you can understand what people say when most of the time you can't know what the hell anybody's saying. The other day I spoke to a bunch of people came up from DC. It was a conference down at the Chase Center on people in the defense industry. And so they asked me about the state, and I said, let me tell you about the state. If you have a problem, you call our city, and the mayor will call you back in 5 minutes. The governor will call you back in 10 minutes. 2 United States senators, an attorney general, a congress member might take a half hour. But you can't get that kind of service anywhere. And I know Kerry just introduced everybody, but I'm thinking, here we are, we're in this little patch of grass, and I've got the attorney general, the county executive, the mayor, a senator, and the secretary of state here. That's pretty good stuff. I just left a meeting over at over at one of our churches up the road here, and there was a group of probably 50 people all together working together about what do we do to make our community better. And they're all people that happen to be centered on West Center City, and as you may know, we are really committed to rebuilding our neighborhoods, and we want to start with West Center City. And Carrie and Laura and I just met this morning, in fact, to talk about strategies to do that. And you know, I'm so committed to the idea that the strength of our communities, we all know each other, we're friends, we care about one another, and when we work together, we're going to get great results. And I've seen this happen, and I've never felt so confident that all the things we want to do in our city are going to get done because of the magic of all these friends who are committed and talented working together. So congratulations on just another one of those small steps in making a great community, Carrie, and we appreciate everything you do. So thank you for having me. Thanks to all for all the things you do and being here with us today. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd now like to ask Senator Marshall to come up and say a few words. As I mentioned, he and the state legislature were instrumental in making this possible. So, Senator Marshall.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm among the brainwashed. A couple of years ago, when I had the opportunity to visit with Carrie and Laura, we talked about the idea of murals. When I showed up here today and I saw that empty wall, I knew that we had a plan somewhere to cover that wall with a mural that would provide inspiration and hope and allow the creativity of a lot of young Wilmingtonians who are here and would like to have the opportunity to develop those skills and talents. But yet, you know, I think today that the mayor hit on it about the idea of teamwork and cooperation between the city, the county, the state. You know, we're small enough and we're a microcosm of the country that we can do a lot of good, innovative things here. We can try new policies and new ideas. I know the mayor has a plan and the council for West Center City. We also need to provide opportunity and hope and job skills to those who need employment and are unable to find employment. And those opportunities may be right here in this area. And cooperation among all of us is important. Looking forward, I know that there will be other new locations for murals, and we will all be working together as a team. And I look forward to the day when you drive by here and you see all the neighbors and the families who bring the children here and have the opportunity to interact. And the more of this that we do in and around Wilmington, the better. So thank you, and anytime you need help, come on down and we'll talk about it, come up with a plan, and we'll move it forward to make good projects like here work. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Stay up here. We're going to do a ceremonial. So I'd like to now ask our Attorney General, Matt Denn, to say a few words. As I mentioned, the Neighborhood Building Blocks Fund was a strategic part of making this project happen. And the Attorney General's office fought for those funds to be put in place so that projects like this could happen. So, Matt?
Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm particularly thrilled that the work that was done on this park has been done so well, and it's such a beautiful space. And I wanted to thank everyone who has done that challenge program and everyone who was involved in the design and putting it together. It's important in a vacuum, but it's also important in terms of showing what can be done going forward. As you heard, we had to really fight to get funds set aside for projects like this. For a lot of after-school programs and summer programs that are just finishing up at the end of the summer as kids go back to school. It was very, very difficult to get money set aside to do these things, and it was one-time money. And part of the argument that we made was, let's do this, let's show what can be done when we really invest in our communities and try to lift up those communities and see the impact that it can have, not just on crime, but on kids doing better, the whole range of issues that we're concerned about. And now we have that. And the summer programs end, and the after-school programs can sometimes be hard to show people, but here's an actual physical facility that people can see day after day and really see what's being done with it. And my hope is that they will see this and they will see what can be done, and that next year and the year after, when opportunities come up to further invest, that they'll see what the possibilities are, and that they will keep investing and keep lifting up this community and others like it. So thank you for the outstanding work that was done, and we got to do a lot more of it.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. You know, Matt's comments reflect on the fact that partnership is so important, and partnerships like this make this kind of project and others possible. And one of the biggest partnerships that Wilmington Renaissance has is with our board members and our board companies that help support our work. I know there's a number of board members here today, so I wanted them to raise their hand and say thank you. Our fearless leader, Glenn Moore from Delmarva Power, Peg Idle from Highmark, Pete Bailey from WilMU, Rob Snowberger from Buccini Poland, Andrew Levin from M&T, and I'm hoping I'm not missing anybody else. But we have a great board of directors. They're very dedicated, and we just really thank them for their support and their partnership. And as I mentioned, there were a lot of partnerships that have already happened related to the Rock Lot and that will be happening with programming going forward, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But for now, I'd like to ask one of our key partners in helping with the furnishings for the Rock Lot to come up and say a few words, and that's Andrew McKnight with the Challenge Program.
Hi, thank you, Carrie, Senator Marshall, Mayor Pazicki, Attorney General Dinh. I just want to say that Neighborhood Builders Grant, we were recipient of some of those funds early on, and it's been transformative for us, so thank you for your work on that. I want to thank Carrie and especially Laura, who has been contacting me for the last couple of years with all kinds of crazy ideas. And I love it. The more that we come, the more that we can do together. We started with the parklet outside Starbucks. Then we did the juke bench together, and now the Rock Lot. And I know what the Rock Lot means because all the rocks ended up in my parking lot. Now I got to get rid of them. But a little bit of a story. I want to thank there's 4 guys that worked on this in particular: Deja, Tyler, and John. That are sitting on the bench that they built. And their instructor, Glenn, came up with all the ideas, but there's a couple of cool stories that I'll tell you real quick. And this just gives you some of the like, it's a small town, it's easy to get stuff done. And even some of these, the folks around here have been instrumental in helping us retrieve some of this materials. The bench that they're sitting on used to be the steps at the Salvation Army on 6th and Orange. The beams that they got were from the pool building on the waterfront, which early on in the 97, Mayor Pazicki, just Mike, was instrumental in helping us salvage. The beams also came from the pool building on the waterfront. The Purple Heart, it makes up the bottom are the frames from the Kalmar nickel. They're cut-offs from the frames from the Kalmar nickel. And the curbing over there was at the Waterworks building on the Brandywine at the end of Walnut Street. So a little bit of history of Wilmington all through all these things. And I just want to thank everybody who's been involved in helping us, and thank Carrie. And we look forward to Kingswood and a couple more projects coming up soon. So thank you very much.
So before we do a little bit of a ceremonial adding to the rocks that are already on the Rock Lot, I just want to mention that as Andrew said and as others have said, our staff, small and mighty as they are, deserve a lot of thanks and a lot of credit for the work that they're doing every day. Laura in particular has worked a lot with Groundswell on getting this installed, so thank you to Laura Summelroth, thank you to Dan Levin, our project director, to Nivea Mercado, and to Martine Martinez, and to Jennifer Lawson. So we're 6 staff. We're getting a public ally in a couple weeks, so we'll be 7. We're like, woo, we might get close to double digits at some point. It could get crazy in here. But it's a great staff, a great team, and I just want to say thank you to them for all of their work behind the scenes and in the projects like this. And then in terms of partnership, there are some programs up here on the table if you want to grab one, but I do want to mention that we already have 2 partners that are coming to do some programming here on the Rock Lot. On Tuesdays, the St. Andrews and Matthews Drumming Circle will be here from 6 to 7 every Tuesday until it gets cold and they can't drum in the outdoors anymore. And then the 8th Avenue Collective Group, which is a group of local artists, are actually going to come and do some programming, including game night, including yoga in the park, Art in the Park for the next for 6 Thursdays starting September 14th at 6 p.m. So keep an eye out for all of this on our social media, but if you want to mark your calendars now, it looks like there's going to be some fun things happening in the Rock Lot. And if anyone has any other organizations that are interested in doing some programming here in this space, please do have them reach out to our office, because we are looking for folks to actively program the space as much as possible. So with that, I would like to ask our speakers, our board members, the county executive, the Secretary of State, Paul Wiegraff from the Division of the Arts, Laura and Dan, to come up, and we're going to do a little bit of a ceremonial dumping of some rocks. We'll share some bags and we'll dump some rocks here on the Rock Lot. 2, 3. Woo-hoo!